welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today we are going to review all the books that I read in the month of March. I read 8 books in the month of March, so let's go through each one. I'll read you the synopsis of the back and then tell you my opinion about it. So the first one is The Girl from Widow Hills. I just finished this last day of March actually. So it says, everyone knows the story of the girl from Widow Hills. Ardeen Manor was just 6 years old when she was swept away while sleepwalking during a terrifying rainstorm. Strangers and friends, neighbors and rescue workers set up search parties and held vigils, praying for her safe return. Against all odds, she was found alive, clinging to a storm drain. The girl from Widow Hills was a living miracle. Ardeen's mother wrote a book, fame followed, fans and fan letters, creeps and stalkers, and every year the anniversary. As soon as she was old enough, Ardeen changed her name and disappeared from the public eye. Now a young woman living hundreds of miles away, Ardeen has built a life as Olivia Meyer. But with the 20th anniversary of the rescue approaching, the media inevitably renews its interest. Soon Olivia feels like she's being watched. She begins sleepwalking again. Late one night, she jolts awake in her yard, only to find on her feet the corpse of the man she knows from her previous life as Ardeen Manor. The girl from Widow Hills is about to become the center of the story once again. So this book was amazing. Highly recommended. There's a twist at the end that you don't expect, and it just keeps you on your toes the whole time. You're trying to figure out what's going to happen to Olivia and who killed the guy in her yard and why she's sleepwalking after all these years again. And it's just very interesting, and you kind of like get pieces of her past slowly throughout the book, and then it all adds up at the very end. And I would highly, if you like psychological thrillers, definitely recommend this. I did read one of these, one of the other books from this author, and let me see if I can find it. All the Missing Girls. I read that book by this author, and I also love that book, so I think I'm going to keep on reading her books because I love them. The Last House Guest is like a New York bestseller, so that might be the next one, but this is all the ones that she's written, so I'll probably read all her books because I love them. So the next book is Burial Ritual. So let me read the inside for you. They said I must die. They said that I stole the breath from men, and now they must steal mine. Charged with the brutal murder of 2 men, Agnes has been moved to her homeland's farthest reaches, to an isolated farm in northern Iceland, to wait execution. Horrified at the prospect of housing a convicted murderer, the family on the farm avoids Agnes. Her rival threatens the peaceful rhythm of their way of life, while her stoic approach to daily chores, an unsettling contrast to the passion that rumor has it drove her to kill, disturbing proof for them of the dangers that can lurk beneath a placid surface. Only Tati, a priest Agnes has mysteriously chosen to be her spiritual guardian, seeks to understand her. As the months pass and Agnes' death looms closer, the farmer's wife and his daughters learn there is another side to the sensational tale they've heard. But with their new knowledge be enough to save her, Hannah Kent brings to vivid life the saga of this young woman, the last to be publicly beheaded in Iceland in the early 19th century. Riveting and rich with lyricism, Bureau writes evokes a dramatic existence at a distant time and place, and asks the heartbreaking question, how can one woman hope to endure when her life depends upon the stories told by others? Inspired by true events, this is an astonishing and exhilarating read that gives voice to a fierce and daring heroine and heralds the arrival of a great new talent. So this is actually based on a true story in Iceland in the 1800s. Like I said, it was the last beheading in Iceland, and it was a good book. Not my favorite. It was definitely, I don't know, I'm not very a fan of the 1800s time period. Really not my favorite historical events that I like reading about. I prefer reading books written about World War II if I read a historical fiction. But it's definitely interesting learning, you know, a little bit about Iceland, the history, you know, kind of what happened to this woman. And even though this is fictional and you get to hear the story from her perspective, it's definitely, you feel bad for her at the end and you don't think she deserves it. I give this book like a 2 out of 5, and then of course I give this one a 5 out of 5 for sure. So if you like historical fiction, definitely read this. You would enjoy it. And it was definitely interesting reading about the murders and how they, back in the time, dealt with murders and the system for it. So good, it was good. Not my favorite though. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this book. I might give it. I bought these books at my church book sale, yearly book sale, and they were like $2 a piece, so I couldn't pass it up. This one I also bought at the book sale. So this is The Wife Who Knew Too Much. So let me read it to you. The back, it says, meet the first Mrs. Ford. Beautiful, accomplished, wealth beyond imagination. Married to a much younger man, and now she's dead. Meet the second Mrs. Ford, waitress, small town girl. Married to a man she never forgot from a summer romance 10 years before. Now she's wealthy beyond imagination. Who was Connor Ford? 2 women loved him and knew him as only wives can. Set among the glittering mansion in the Hamptons, The Wife Who Knew Too Much is a decent summer thriller about the lives of those who will do anything for love and money. Who's the victim, who's the villain, and who will next to die. So, I think this book is told by the perspective of not Nina. Nina is his first wife, and then Tabitha is his second wife. So you get like perspective from Tabitha, and I think you do from Connor too, if I remember correctly. And it goes back and forth between them. During the whole book, you're like trying to figure out who killed Nina, his first wife, and you know, and then you kind of suspect him, and then it just kind of goes into a spiral of what is happening, and then the ending is shocking. You would not believe the ending, and I really loved this book. It was a very good psychological thriller. I enjoyed it. I love books that keep me thinking and keep me engaged, and psychological thrillers do that for me because I never know what's going to happen next. And this book definitely has so many twists and turns. Very good book. I would read it again. I give this one a 5 out of 5 for sure. Next one, The Turn of the Key. This one was creepy beyond belief. This was creepy, and the ending is surprising, and just kind of really gets into like the minds of people, and it talks a lot about technology and how technology is like good, can be used for good, but also like can turn out bad all at the same time. So let me read the back. It says Goodreads Choice Awards 2019 finalists, Starter Reviews and Book List, Library Journal, and Publisher Weekly. Named one of the best books of the year by Reader's Digest, the New York Public Library, the Washington Post, LitHub, PBS.org, PopSugar, and Crime Reads, including HuffPost Best Book to Give Us Gift this year, and Good Housekeeping Best Book to Give Us Gifts this season. Ruth Ware has been called the Agatha Christie of our generation. The Turn of the Key is a good read. You're going to enjoy it very much. This perfectly twisted turn of the screw update finds the woman in cabin 10, author in her most menacing mood, unfurling a shocking saga of murder and deception. Let's just say that if you've got an echo, you're going to unplug it as soon as you finish the book. What Ware does beautifully is infuse the Turn of the Key with a creepy gothic sensibility. Ruth Ware, one of our favorite thriller writers, is bringing down the house. Read it for a fast-paced ride. Ware delivers her novel full of twisted tension that will have readers looking at technology a little bit differently. It solidifies her spot among the greatest. A satisfying, dizzying parade of twists and reveals without leaving much unexplained. So pretty much the book is about a nanny that lives in this smart house. Pretty much she was hired to live in this smart house, and she pretty much, it's gonna be a spoiler, so I'm not gonna tell you. So she lives in the smart house. She's watching 4 kids, and kind of, you know, things go awry while watching the kids because the parents left because of they own a business, and there's so many twists and turns with it, and so many things go wrong, and it just a lot of shocks. And I love this book. I would probably read it again. A lot of surprises I did not suspect, and highly recommend, a 5 out of 5. Next one, this book, The Memory of an Elephant. Let me read the back to you. A beautifully told epic story that brings the beauty and wild cruelty of Africa vividly to life. I defy anyone not to be moved by the story of this supremely intelligent, majestic creature. A tender, sometimes heartbreaking saga, a vivid and telling depiction of elephants and the cruelty of iron poaching. I've never read anything that reflects my feelings and experiences regarding the intellect and emotional life of elephants as clearly as what Mr. Lasker has done here. I hope this novel will bring an appreciation of elephants to the greater world and help ensure their survival. So this is a very, very moving book. I can see this book making a lot of people cry. I'm not much of a crier, but it is heartbreaking for sure. So this book is told by the elephant, the memory of an elephant. It goes through his life and what he has experienced during life and the heartbreaking tragedies that he's experienced in his life. And if you just want like a good cry or good sentimental book, read this. I don't really read books like this normally, but this was an amazing book, and I loved hearing this perspective from the elephant, which you never hear. And it's just so sad what people are doing to elephants. And elephants, I love them, and I know like poaching is real. People poach them for their ivories, I know that, but just reading it through this book and his perspective, and it's heartbreaking, but it's also like happy, sad. You get all the emotions in this one book, and I do recommend it if you want to read it for sure. Next one, Girl in Pieces. Oh, I also rate this book a 5 out of 5 for sure. So it says, Charlotte Davis is in pieces. At 17, she already lost more than most people do in a lifetime. But she's learned how to forget the broken glass washes away the sorrow until there's nothing but calm. You don't have to think about your father and the river, your best friend who is gone forever, or your mother who has nothing left to give you. Every new scar hardens Charlie's heart just a little more, yet it still hurts so much. It hurts enough to not care anymore, which is something what has to happen before you find your way back from the edge. So before you read this book, if you are triggered, I hate to use that word, by like suicide or self-harm or any of that type of stuff, I do not recommend reading this book, because that's pretty much what this book is about a girl that self-harmed almost to the point of killing herself, and about her trying to get her life back together after she was released from a psychiatric ward, and how she kind of started to piece her life back together, how she'd fallen back, and how she, recovered again from her, taking a step back. It was not my favorite book. I really felt I couldn't connect to it. Yeah, I just didn't feel like a connection. I feel like it wasn't as interesting and a page turner as I would like. But it was a good message in this book about self-harm and suicide, and that there's someone always out there. It may not seem like it when you're in that position, in that point in your life, but there's someone always out there that can help you no matter what. I'm not gonna get into it too much, but Girl in Pieces, if you like books like that, it's for you, but it wasn't much my cup of tea. So for me, it's a 2 out of 5. So, last 2 books, The Girl on the Platform. So Berlin, this is a historical fiction book, World War II. Berlin, 1939, the inspiring true story of Libby, a German girl who refused to back down to the Nazis in the face of evil. She vowed to live by the truth or die by it. Be brave, don't run, fight. With her eyes tightly shut, tears rolling from under her dark lashes, she felt his lips gently touch her burning cheek. The train on the platform whistled, and he disappeared into the steam. 19-year-old Libby moves to Berlin to escape her suffocating family, but instead of offering freedom, the city is under siege by Nazis. Jewish books are burned, storefronts smashed, and everyday innocent people vanish into thin air. Libby will not turn a blind eye. When Libby meets Harrow, she knows there's more to him than his dazzling smile and sunflower blue eyes. The whip marks on his back, scars from the SS, tell his true story. He's a resistance fighter. Libby and Harrow fall madly in love, devoted to each other and to tearing down Hitler's regime, knowing they can make the greatest difference from the inside. Harrow works for the Air Ministry, infiltrating government secrets. Together they smuggle classified documents and hold clandestine meetings in the middle of the night, with blackout curtains and single candle burning. Under the cover of darkness, they disrupt leaflets exposing Nazis' hideous lies. In the frostbitten winter of 1942, Libby certain that Gestapo is stalking them every move watched, their phone calls recorded, and they must decide what's more important, to be free or to be brave, to survive or to stand up for truth. Pretty much that's what the whole book is about. It's about Libby and eventually her husband, Harold, which she meets in the book. You get to hear their love story. So there's a love story in it, and it pretty much just details how they like pretty much fought against the Nazis in their own way and resisted conforming to their ways, and how, what happened to them in the end. And this is actually based off a true story. It is fictional, but it is based on a true story. It's a good book. If you like historical books, I would recommend it. I enjoyed it. I would give it a 4 out of 5. I might read this again. I do like historical fictions that are set in World War II. That's my favorite type of books. So I do like this. It was a good read for sure. And I didn't know it was based on a true story until the end of the book, but it's definitely interesting. I like when historical fictions are based on true stories, because I find it definitely more interesting, and I like when it's told in a when it's told in a fictional story. True stories are told in a fictional story because I find it more interesting. That's how I like to learn about history. So the last book I read was An Elephant in the Garden. So it says, the bombing of Dresden looms ahead, and Lizzie's mother, a zookeeper, persuades the zoo director to allow Marlene, a young elephant that has bonded with Lizzie and her younger brother Carl, to be kept safe in their garden. Their home is destroyed when bombs are dropped, so the family and Marlene have no choice but to flee with thousands of others in the dead of winter. Though, how can they walk the same route and keep themselves safe from approaching Russian soldiers with an elephant in tow? So this was a very quick, short read. I think I read this in like a couple hours. This is also based in World War II. It's actually based on a true story. So this woman pretty much rescues an elephant, takes this elephant home with her from the zoo that she was working at. And they end up escaping from the bombings that happened in their town with the elephant. They ended up trekking across the land till they got to a safe place, and end up losing the elephant in the end. And then it talks about how they end up seeing the elephant later in life, which was so heartfelt and heartwarming. And it's just an amazing, this is actually based on a true story. It was a good read, very quick read. I would give this a 4 out of 5. So those are all the books that I read this month. It is quite a lot. Let me know down in the comments below if you read any of these books, if you think you would read any of these, if you're interested. If I'm able to find like a link for them, I will, because I purchased most of my books on Amazon. Some of these I did buy from a book sale at my church, and if I can find them, I'll put them down below for sure. Definitely like this video if you love book contents and you would like to see more bookish videos, and definitely hit that subscribe button if you like books, Disney, all that good stuff, because that's what I post. And I will see everyone really soon. Have a wonderful day.